Tonight, water is flowing again in Conception Bay South, but the mayor says there could still be issues in the future. That story and...
Preparedness cannot be an afterthought. It must be a priority.
Another pre-election announcement today with the PCs promising more money and equipment to fight wildfires. That story just ahead.
Even with all the help, I think a full year is before you can move back in would be realistic, even slightly optimistic.
A former construction company owner forced to evacuate his home in Conception Bay North returns to see the damage done by wildfires.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Well, life for the 30,000 residents in Conception Bay South is getting back to normal now that the state of emergency has been lifted and water is flowing again. But the town's mayor says old pipes mean breaks will happen. The CBC's Peter Cowan reports.
The town of Conception Bay South now has full water service again. That state of emergency that came in because the town's water supply ran out is now over. Businesses started reopening on Wednesday night after being forced to close. Mayor Darren Bent says it's a relief to go back to normal life. Many residents in the town of 30,000 didn't have water Tuesday night. The cause turned out to be a water main break on the only line that provides water to the town, a pipe that's operated by the St. John's Regional Water Authority. Bent says water main breaks are inevitable.
And these things happen. You know, we had it happen to one of the main lines in town a year or so ago. And what you do is you dig it up and you haul it out and you fix it and you let residents know that there'll be a water interruption for a while.
Bent says the incident has prompted him to think about the town's water supply in general.
Whether there's another way to get water into Conception Bay South that would be, available to us. That's something that, of course, we'll look at. But, the water on the Northeast Avalon is not infinite. It has, and it's not free. We pay some $3 million a year for water to the city of St. John's for that supply. So it's expensive.
9 schools were closed on Wednesday due to the state of emergency. So for some students in the province, today is their first day of classes. Peter Cowan, CBC News, St. John's.
Water and sewer upgrades are in the works for part of Harbour Grace. Today, the federal, provincial and municipal governments announced $4 million for the work. In Phase 1, the money will be used to upgrade 29 homes along the south side of the town, from private well and septic to municipal water and sewer. Storm sewers, lift stations and fire hydrants will also be installed. The money comes from a 10-year housing infrastructure fund the province has signed with the federal government. Harbour Grace Mayor Don Coombs says the upgrades will allow more development of homes and businesses to happen.
We have a big business coming into Terranova Shoes, and yesterday I got a call into a meeting with a major developer that's worldwide. He wants to in Harbour Grace, so the word is out on it. We're open for business. We're here for business, and announcements like this open up the infrastructure in our community. And we got that harbour. That harbour's $1 million view. Now people will get to enjoy it.
Absolutely. Look no further than what people experience this summer. I've heard people, their wells running low. I know people in other communities have had no water this summer. We saw what just happened, of course, with our wildfires. It looks like something is a reality here in Newfoundland and Labrador in our summer season. So we need to be equipped, and people need to have water. We need to save our communities, our residents' homes, and the safety of everybody. They want that peace of mind, and I think they deserve that. And, as MHA, I'm certainly fully committed to working with everybody I can to help make this happen.
And the Progressive Conservatives also made an announcement today. At an event in Carbonear, the party promised more support for firefighters across the province if it's elected to form government in the next election. Here and now's Henrika Wilhelm reports.
Preparedness cannot be an afterthought. It must be a priority.
And so it is here in Carbonear, not far from where the Kingston wildfire demanded around-the-clock work from firefighters, that PC party leader Tony Wakeham announced his priorities for wildfire preparedness should he be the next premier.
I will meet with every community and volunteer fire department and talk about what their needs are. What do we need to provide them with to help them do their jobs?
Wildland coveralls for all volunteer fire departments in the province, 50 more wildland firefighters and hiring them 4 weeks earlier each season, and a double tax credit for volunteer firefighters and search and rescue members. Wakeham is also committing to get the province's 5th water bomber, grounded since 2018, back in the air and station it in Labrador.
It was estimated that it would cost $8 million to repair. So here we are, 7 years later. And they finally have announced that they're going to repair the water bomber, and the cost has risen to $17 million. And this is what happens when a government doesn't have plans.
The estimated cost for his promises, excluding the water bomber, around $70,000, says Wakeham, to be implemented immediately.
There has been significant expenditures that I would call that have been unnecessary by this Liberal government in our current fiscal framework, in our current budget, and I intend to find the money within the existing budget.
By Wakeham's side for the event, Riley Balsam, PC candidate for Carbonear Trinity Bay de Verde, who says wildfire preparedness is top of mind for residents since the Kingston fire.
They have said to me, they still wake up in the middle of the night. They're still afraid because they don't know what's going to happen.
And he said many believe there are lessons to be learned.
They're looking for more resources and a faster response, basically. The time it takes to get water bombers and resources on the scene, it's some of it takes too long.
It was another sure sign that a provincial election is right around the corner. And while today's focus was on wildfires, Wakeham also promised an independent review committee of the Churchill Falls MOU and tax breaks, with further details to come. Henrike Wilhelm, CBC News, Carbonear.
The province's new Democratic Party, meantime, also made another announcement today. The leader says if his party is elected, it would eliminate the HST on home heating. The NDP says it would drop the tax on all forms of home heating, including oil and electricity. The party estimates eliminating the HST on heating would cost $68 million over 4 years. But the NDP says there will be more details when its fully costed platform is released. The leader of the NDP says the party is making the commitment because more people are struggling to make ends meet.
In Newfoundland and Labrador housing, we've had a number of clients, constituents who've spoken about the fact that they run out of oil, that they or the subsidy that they need, they can't afford heat. People, I've been in one apartment that I remember visiting, where the lady had blankets up to all the doors, electric heat in this apartment, and had not had the heat on in 3 years.
And as for municipal elections, the deadline for candidates to put their names forward was today at 4 p.m. Candidates can still withdraw their nominations by 4 p.m. tomorrow. After that, candidates will be locked in, so expect to see more of those election signs going up in your area. Election day for municipalities is October 2nd, but there will be even more election signs going up soon. We still don't know when the provincial election will be, but it must happen on or before October 14th. Well, now to some news from the courts. A police officer took matters into her own hands and stopped Tony Humby with an Indigenous teenager in his car back in 2020, 3 years before he was ever charged with sexual violence against youths. That was the testimony of a former Royal Newfoundland Constabulary officer today during Humby's trial. Ryan Cook reports.
Suzanne Fitzgerald, former media relations officer for the RNC, was working surveillance one day in February of 2020. Her task, following suspected sex offender Tony Humby. The day started at Humby's trailer on Hussey Drive in the east end of St. John's, where they watched him move his garbage can, check his mail, and then head downtown. Fitzgerald's team followed Humby to Queens Road Convenience, where he picked up a person who appeared to be an Indigenous youth. In court Thursday morning, Fitzgerald recounted how she'd surveilled Humby with another Indigenous teen in his car earlier that same week. She had asked for permission to intercept him, but was told to stand down. This time around, she was the acting sergeant in charge, and she wasn't sitting idly by. She testified, quote, "I did not agree with the decision that was made prior, so I made the decision to intercept that day, and we blew our cover." There was no marked police car available at the time to make the stop, so Fitzgerald followed Humby as he stopped at this convenience store on Torbay Road. As he was coming out with a case of beer, Fitzgerald and another officer approached him. She said Humby immediately told them, "That's my 19-year-old friend." She then spoke with the youth, who said he was 17, to ask if he was okay. Fitzgerald said she told him, "I didn't like any of this. I didn't like it as a police officer. I didn't like it as a mom." The youth told her that he understood, but opted to stay with Humby. That same youth testified earlier this week, saying he was sexually abused by Humby on a near daily basis for about a year and a half. He said he was addicted to alcohol, and Humby provided a steady supply. Suzanne Fitzgerald said there was nothing she could do that day. The youth was 17, he could legally make his own decisions. But she says she left Tony Humby with a parting message. She said, quote, "I told him I knew exactly what he was doing. I told him everywhere he went, he would be watched and followed." Ryan Cook, CBC News, St. John's.
The retired owner of a construction company who was forced to leave his home in Conception Bay North during last month's wildfire has returned to see the damage firsthand. While David Milley didn't lose his home, it's still not safe for him to live in it. He talks about what he saw and what it will take to rebuild.
That's something I'll probably never forget. The drive back around the bay was normal till I passed Salmon Cove. Then as you climbed the Cape Horn, you started to see the effects of the fire. Completely devastating. It's just a charcoal landscape for the most part in a valley that was very lush and green, full of birch. It was very painful to see, to be quite truthful. Damage to my home was minimal compared to many others, but like pretty much everybody, the overwhelming smell of smoke and rotting food and things like this was unbearable, to be quite truthful. So we couldn't stay very long. Then we made it back, I think it was the following day, to remove the freezers. Our insurance company actually provided people for that. So that was another, awful task that had to be done. Other than the bad smell, I had some lifted clapboard. I had a couple of heat pumps that weren't functioning properly. I had some plaster cracks in the ceiling, which was really odd. The obvious stains and so on from the rotting food going over the floor. Things like this, pretty much things that most people would have. I also had a lot of ash and soot on my soffit, which most people may not notice at first, but it's a concern because this type of thing can migrate into your attic and sit on your insulation, and you may not be aware it's there when you move back into your home and start your HVACs and so on. This can migrate back into your house and spoil your air quality as well. Most of the bad air quality addressed this week and be able to move home. The ongoing repairs can happen while we live in the house, the few small things, because there's only so many crews at this. And when I was here last time, we were under the impression it was maybe 100 houses, but we've since learned it's perhaps 200 plus another 500 plus outbuildings. There's so much to be rebuilt. Far beyond anything locally can handle, in a quick period of time. I did speak to the insurance adjuster, and it was under the impression that they will be implementing larger construction crews from larger areas like St. John's, and even some of the restoration people are bringing in workers from out of province to help assist. This is going to be a long process. If your home was completely destroyed and you're looking for a turnkey, even with all the help, I think a full year is before you can move back in would be realistic, even slightly optimistic.
Well, temperatures today, very different story across Labrador. 17 degrees colder today in Mary's Harbour, 10 degrees colder in Happy Valley Goose Bay, and some areas are actually seeing temperatures warmer. That is mainly the island portion of the province where temperatures are absolutely gorgeous this afternoon, sitting in the 20s, even upper 20s for some areas up across Labrador, though single digits towards the coast. We really haven't been seeing a whole lot of movement as far as the forecast goes, and we're really not going to see much change either. Some thunderstorms around right now up across Labrador. Expect the showers to continue, along with some fog patches for parts of the island as we head through the overnight tonight. The warm temperatures are going to continue. In fact, we're getting close to a record for temperatures for parts of the island. I'll get into that a little later. And then we've got the humidity increasing as we head towards the weekend and early next week. I'll break the full forecast down for you coming up a little later.
So here's what we've gathered from talking to local residents.
I spoke with a renter who's facing eviction this fall.
It is not for the weak of stomachs.
What does it mean for you to be able to give that advice and to know that you've helped?
Don't look down.
If this is something that you didn't know about, let me tell you.
Heather Gillis, CBC News, Happy Valley Goose Bay.
St. John's.
Corner Brook.
Shaji, Innu First Nation.
Grand Falls, Windsor.
New West Valley, Newfoundland and Labrador.
Yesterday, we told you about the concerns Nunatsiavut and the Innu Nation have with Nunatuavut Community Council artwork unveiled by the province. Now, with the province recognizing the NCC artwork as Indigenous, Johannes Lamb says it undermines the work other groups have done. Here's some of what he had to say.
NCC, who was turned down, by trying to get the opportunity to negotiate a land claim, and being recognized, by the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, through artwork. But this is not just about artwork. It's about truth. Certainly, undermines Labrador Inuit in what it hoped, to do in building a relationship with the government of Newfoundland and Labrador.
And staying in Labrador, Canadian Rangers from across the province and Quebec took part in some military training at 5 Wing Goose Bay last week. The training allowed the Canadian Rangers to brush up on their outdoor skills and also offered some basic military training. The CBC's Reagan Burden has more.
Knot tying, first aid, chainsaw skills. Just a few things keeping the Canadian Rangers busy during training in Happy Valley Goose Bay.
Canadian Rangers are part of the CAF. They're a subcomponent of the reserves. So they operate in remote areas of Canada where we don't have a lot of military presence. So their role is to provide a presence within their communities and be ready for any domestic or sovereignty operations that might be happening or needed within that area. Canadian Rangers are considered trained upon enrollment. However, that means they know how to, operate a chainsaw, ride a snowmobile or ATV. However, they don't necessarily know the ins and outs of the military yet.
The training provided last week was a refresher for field skills, but also taught the Canadian Rangers about military administrative procedures and what they're entitled to.
So it's important that we do this routinely in order to maintain their skills. So they're not necessarily required to do this course. Not all of the Rangers have it. They get a lot of the information or the skills they need from their patrol. But this is bringing them together.
Last week's training brought together 17 Canadian Rangers from across the province and Quebec, and they say their patrols make a difference in their communities.
It's important to provide a service at times for like some of the domestic operations that we've had over the last 10 years, fires and COVID. I know they reached out to Rangers to help out throughout the communities.
Prime example of that is right in our own hometown with the Fiona disaster. So Rangers were asked to come out to help provide surveillance and checkpoints and even just a familiar face to locals during the tragic time.
McIsaac and O'Driscoll joined the Canadian Rangers because of their love of the outdoors, but the pair have also fallen in love with the organization.
Say if you like outside or like doing anything, camaraderie, teamwork, it'll be good for you.
You can really hone in on the skills that you have, and you're always learning from your fellow Rangers, the ones that have been in longer than you, and even from newer Rangers. There's always something to learn, and it's a great place to be.
The Canadian Rangers who took part in last week's training were looking forward to getting back to their patrols to share what they've learned and work on their new skills. Reagan Burden, CBC News, Happy Valley Goose Bay.
You're looking at a live shot of St. John's Harbor from our Rooms camera in downtown St. John's. We've been showing you the cruise ships visiting the city in recent days. There aren't any there now, but 2 more are due to arrive on Sunday morning. Ashley's back with a look at the weather, and we were looking at a shot of St. John's Harbor just before the break, and gorgeous evening out there, and it's just more of the same for much of the province.
Yeah, we've been in the same pattern essentially most of the week today, or most of the week this week rather, and today was no different. 22 degrees in St. John's this afternoon, 26 in Terra Nova, and again, very different story up across Labrador this afternoon. Happy Valley Goose Bay at 13 degrees, and then still looking at those single digits towards the coast. Now, these temperatures are, pretty nice, but that 22 degrees in St. John's brought us to the 76th time this year that has happened. And the record is back 2012 and 2022 tied at 79. And if we take a look at the forecast over the next 5 days, there's a whole lot more 20-degree temperatures in there. So at this rate, looks like we should at least tie it, if not break it, by the time we get into next week. So certainly, we know it's been warm. It certainly has been warm for most areas. And again, that warmth is going to continue. Taking a look at what's happening right now, this front has been essentially just stalled over Labrador, sinking a little bit further south. But it's been there all week, and it's been sparking some thunderstorms as well, and today is no different. Taking a look at the satellite right now, there are we don't have lightning data up this far, at least on my system, but we do have a little bit of a cell moving there towards the Green Bay, White Bay area, so you may be hearing some rumbles of thunder around Bay Vert, but then I've circled where the thunderstorms are happening and headed potentially, if they stay together, they might head towards the Strait, so you may be hearing some rumbles of thunder over the next couple of hours as well. Now, that risk of thunderstorms is going to continue even up across Labrador, Lab West, and through central areas of Labrador as well, but you can really see where that front is because of the temperatures. So where those winds are onshore, temperatures are in the single digits. So Mary's Harbor down to 9 degrees at the moment, but then you still have that southerly flow to the south there. Daniels Harbor sitting at 18 degrees. So quite the dramatic difference there. Even Lab City rather at 23 degrees right now. So we're taking a look at the Humidex values here. Nothing really super significant. There's a bit of humidity in the air, but as we head through to Sunday and into Monday, we're really going to notice that humidity climbing. Really for eastern areas of the island, but yeah, you're certainly going to feel that humidity. It's also going to bring back that chance of that fog, though. We're certainly going to see fog chances tonight along all coastal areas of the island, and then hang on to the chance of showers for coastal areas of Labrador and towards the northern peninsula. That will be the story through tonight, and then that's pretty much it. Temperature-wise, we're looking at daytime or overnight lows rather between 11 and 14 degrees. Single digits still for the northern peninsula, as well as the coast, and then the rest of Labrador will sit around 11 degrees as well tonight. Into tomorrow, cloud cover likely hanging around for the first part of the day along the northeast coast, along with some fog patches. That should clear as the afternoon rolls through. Don't be surprised to see some cloudy periods through the day, but overall it will be another quiet day, and then we'll see that fog develop again as we see that humidity increase along southern areas of the island, along with some much cooler temperatures tomorrow. And then into the overnight, we'll see some more shower activity, likely periods of rain move in just in time for your Saturday morning for those of you in Lab West. Here's your daytime highs for tomorrow. They'll be in the 20s for the most part, except where the winds are blowing onshore. Again, your temperatures will be cooler. Also, a sea breeze might kick in tomorrow, which will likely drop the temperatures into the afternoon. 11 degrees for St. Anthony, and then up across Labrador still. Coastal areas looking at temperatures between 9 to 16 degrees. Unsettled conditions through most of the day. Winds will be a little breezy for those of you in Lab West, gusting somewhere around 50 kilometers per hour. But again, your temperatures will be in the upper teens, low 20s. You are going to see a drop in temperatures, though, as we get into next week. I'll get into that coming up a little later.
Thanks, Ashley. A law professor who lives in St. John's is about to venture into some dangerous waters. Heidi Matthews is joining a flotilla in Tunisia, a group of more than 50 ships that organizers describe as the largest maritime mission to Gaza. She'll be with other international lawyers and academics in what they call a legal support boat. They're heading to the naval blockade of Gaza. Heidi Matthews joins me now from Tunis. Thank you so much for making time for us.
Thank you for having me.
So you are about to embark on a mission toward Gaza. Can you tell us why you and the lawyers on board are going to this blockade?
So the first thing to point out is that from a legal perspective, what Israel claims to be a lawful naval blockade of Gaza is in fact an unlawful blockade and is a part, and has been for many, many years, of Israel's very intense restrictions on the entry of any kinds of goods, but particularly much needed humanitarian aid, including food, into the Gaza Strip. And so the maritime blockade is one thing that Israel uses, one method it uses to conduct its campaign of deliberate forced starvation of the civilian population as a method of war. Prime Minister Netanyahu and former Minister of Defense Yoav Gallant have outstanding warrants of arrest for nearly a year now against them at the International Criminal Court. And it's in part because states have failed in their obligations to protect civilians in the Palestinian territory, using all reasonable means available to them to exert influence and pressure on the state of Israel to stop its criminal activity. And so it's in the wake of state failure to act, including notably Canada's failure to act, that all of these many hundreds of civilian, non-violent humanitarian activists are taking part in this historic mission to Gaza.
What will you be doing while you're there? What's going to be your job when you're at that blockade?
Right, so a number of things. Again, to be clear, the legal support boat is a boat that's comprised of international lawyers and academics such as myself. There are 5 of us that will be on board this vessel. We have nationalities including Canada for myself, Britain, Ireland, and South Africa. And our job with respect to the flotilla itself is actually to act as a support, as a vessel that will accompany the flotilla to record violations and other facts as they happen in real time, and to provide on-the-spot legal assistance, and perhaps more crucially, legal analysis for the international media to explain what's happening, why the blockade is unlawful, and to contest any violations that Israel may attempt to inflict on members of the flotilla or the vessels that bear the flags of many different nationalities. Most of the participants are volunteers. They are civilians from all walks of life, and 44 different states, who are acting as a matter of conscience to bring attention to Israel's campaign of starvation, to the ongoing genocide in Gaza, and to urge governments around the world to act. In addition to the legal support boat, there will also be medical support available. The international NGO Emergency is providing a very large boat of emergency medical assistance should that be needed as well, which is crucial in the context of this size of mission, and also in the context of the very disturbing threats that Israeli leaders are making against the flotilla, most recently threats that Minister Ben-Gvir has made around arresting these volunteers and holding them as terrorists in prolonged detention in Israel.
Ultimately, what do you want to see happen? What do you want to see come out of the work you're going to do there?
So the main goal is to end the unlawful occupation. The International Court of Justice made it very clear in its advisory opinion from July 2024 that this occupation is unlawful. It violates fundamental norms in international law, including the fundamental right of all peoples, here the Palestinian people, to self-determination. And so the overall goal is to end the occupation and to secure the freedom of the Palestinian people. One way to go about doing that is to provide legal support and services. And so I would not be surprised if a variety of legal claims and actions emerge from whatever actions Israel may take, including, I should say, threats that have already been made, which may themselves already constitute international crimes under the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court. And so there's already an emerging base of evidence that might be used to make claims before that body, for example, and perhaps also domestic bodies.
Heidi Matthews, I really appreciate your time. Good luck and stay safe out there. I hope we get a chance to follow up with you and find out how everything goes. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.
Author Xavier Michael Campbell has written nonfiction, short stories, and plays, but now he's releasing his first children's book about a Jamaican boy growing up in Newfoundland, learning to love his hair, even though it might look different from his peers. The CBC's Madison Taylor has that story.
It's back to school season, and this book comes with a message of acceptance, inside the classroom and beyond.
It is about this little boy, Lovey, and he moves from Jamaica to Newfoundland.
Campbell is originally from Kingston, Jamaica, but has called Newfoundland home for over a decade. Lovey's story comes from some of Campbell's own experiences here. He had dreadlocks himself a decade ago and says it was a different time.
I have the memory of people investigating your hair, especially people who aren't black, when I had dreadlocks in Newfoundland, thinking about all those things and putting all of those parts of my personality and my identity together. The story came out.
Working in childcare for many years, Campbell has read his fair share of children's books, but he's never written one, until now. Known for his work aimed at adults, both fiction and non-fiction, creating his first picture book has provided a new challenge.
How do you want to communicate that message to them? So even your word choice is different, your sentence length are different. It's everything is very different.
The book has themes of acceptance and belonging. It shows the importance of being kind to others in the classroom, even if they or their hair might look different. Especially to the black community, hair holds weight.
I mean, to anyone, especially to black people, I know, especially to me, it's crazy. I never saw my hair and what my hair could look like until I was 18 or 19, because my hair had to be short to go to school, I had to be in a uniform, it had to be a certain way. And this is really important. This is a part of you, and this grows out of your head, and however it grows out of you, that hair is perfect and is amazing, because how can it be anything else if it's just coming out of you like that?
Campbell hopes the book has a positive impact on those who read it, beyond its pages.
That general sense of acceptance and being able to embrace someone who is different, as opposed to making them feel that they are different. So yeah, just about, I guess, accepting everyone and just the differences that we all share.
As kids head back into classrooms across the province, Campbell's book reminds us that a little bit of kindness can go a long way. Madison Taylor, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, the lack of rain in Atlantic Canada is having an effect on all sorts of agricultural crops. As the CBC's Taylor O'Brien reports, one apple grower on Prince Edward Island is expecting great things this season, but it might not be the same story next year.
I'm always ready to look at an apple.
Barry Balsam says he's never seen such hot, dry, and windy weather on PEI, but it's created what he says is a high-quality crop of apples.
It's hot and dry. It didn't have any fungal diseases. We're at their minimal. Other diseases that affect the apples, insects were at their minimal. They suffer too, I think, in this. So yeah, it's a tremendous crop.
Balsam says spring came early and the hot temperatures helped speed up the growth of the apples, and he's taken specific steps to deal with the weather. Some of the soil is a mixture of clay and sand, which means it helps the trees get water. He's irrigating in some areas, and he's also pruned some trees. That can help apples grow. But Balsam says he would be happy to see some rain.
We're in territory that I've never lived through. So far, right now, from my experience, it's working. If we get through this year, I don't know what else I'm going to worry about. I guess I've seen pretty well at all. Okay, so we think we're pretty good right now, and I guess we will be until we're not.
Balsam does say some of the apples aren't as juicy as they normally are. Others are a bit smaller, which means his yield could be down. But Balsam says he is concerned for next season. Some of his trees have stopped producing fruit buds for next year.
So is there a possibility that there's a lot less apples and other product in Prince Edward Island? Absolutely. How much that happens and what happens, well, we'll see. But that's a very real concern at this point.
Balsam says farmers will have to adapt if hot and dry summers become the norm.
Okay, well, we're happy with that one.
The harvest wraps up near the end of October. Taylor O'Brien, CBC News, Arlington.
Prime Minister Mark Carney met with his cabinet for a second day amid growing concern on two issues: government spending and Donald Trump's trade war. Ashley Burke has more on the meeting.
A sense of urgency from cabinet ministers on day 2 of talks.
People want us to be in action mode, and I think that there is urgency, and particularly when it comes to the economy.
Upheaval in Canada's economy, the result of Donald Trump's trade war.
Is there any sign from the Trump administration that they're open to easing up tariffs that are hitting some Canadian sectors hard?
Steel, aluminum, automobiles, softwood lumber. It's those sectoral tariffs where we are, in many cases, the most integrated of any trading partner with the United States, and they're causing enormous economic hardship to Canada.
Dominic LeBlanc says trade talks with the U.S. are now technical, focusing on reaching deals for different sectors.
A series of small deals that cumulatively would put us in a better position than right now.
As that work continues, the finance minister is working on reining in government spending.
Will there be tough choices to make? Definitely. Is the nation ready? I would say yes.
He's facing questions about potential cuts and layoffs after the Prime Minister said the budget would be about investment, but also austerity.
There'll be adjustment in different places, but at the same time, we're going to be empathic to make sure that we're always there for Canadians.
The Conservatives leader describing the government as way too big and bloated.
The government has become a big fat man. It's time to put that government on a diet.
The Prime Minister said during these 2 days of talks here, he was sitting down with ministers to find efficiencies. But the Finance Minister is being tight-lipped about the details. His budget is expected next month. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Toronto.
In Portugal's capital, the Transit Authority has shut down all streetcars to carry out immediate inspection. Wednesday's deadly cable car crash killed at least 16 people and injured 21 others. Global Affairs says 2 Canadians are missing since the accident. Journalist Alison Roberts has the latest from Lisbon.
Portugal's Prime Minister calls the crash one of the greatest tragedies in the nation's recent history. Luís Montenegro is promising swift answers from police and forensic experts amid pressure to determine the causes of the disaster that killed and injured many foreign nationals as well as Portuguese. Police now say that with a high degree of probability, 2 Canadian nationals were among those who lost their lives. Global Affairs Canada says it is aware of 2 missing Canadians in Lisbon, but did not provide further details, citing privacy. The mayor of Lisbon says he has asked the municipal company that runs the funicular to commission an external investigation into the accident, as well as its own. Probes by prosecutors and the Transport Safety Authority are underway. But local media are focusing on reports that the cable that linked the 2 carriages may have detached and backup brakes failed. The Elevador da Gloria, as the 140-year-old funicular is known, was a major attraction, often packed with foreign tourists. Alison Roberts for CBC News, Lisbon.
Latest data from Statistics Canada shows the country's trade deficit shrank in July, most of it thanks to an increase in energy and vehicle exports. Donald Trump's tariffs have forced many businesses to alter their supply chains and seek other markets, but the ongoing trade war with Canada's closest neighbor leaves the future uncertain. The CBC's Anise Derry reports.
The gap between the amount Canada sells to the world and how much it buys from the world was smaller in July compared to the month before. Canadian exports of merchandise went up 0.9%.
I would say general impression was that the July figures weren't as bad as feared, and so they do put Canada kind of on track for potentially modest growth in the third quarter, although it's still obviously quite early in the quarter to be able to tell definitively.
Energy exports went up, including oil and coal. That's after crude oil exports fell the month before. And it wasn't just higher prices driving things upward. A higher volume of exported crude oil was part of July's increase. Motor vehicle exports also up, though that is also factoring in that usually automotive production would slow down in the summer, and this summer it didn't because tariffs had already caused a big slowdown earlier. So when you factor in that June was already slower, July saw more cars and autos sold to the United States in particular. And the trade relationship with the U.S. is still in focus here. One example, some aluminum exports down 31%. And while overall exports to the U.S. are up in July for the 3rd month in a row, they are still down compared to last year. So how trading continues with Canada's largest trading partner remains a question mark.
I think abnormality is kind of the new normal here, but hopefully we do get to some sort of normal or some sort of stability here when we hopefully, fingers crossed, get some sort of a trade deal with the US. Of course, that's not going to totally remove all uncertainty. We're still in a very weird, highly uncertain time.
One number worth noting in the other direction, in this latest data, imports to Canada from the United States fell for the 4th time in 5 months. Anis Haidari, CBC News, Calgary.
All right, time for a look at the long-range forecast as the weekend gets closer and closer, and it looks like things are looking great, at least on the island.
Yeah, and temperature-wise, for sure. We are getting a little bit more unsettled, though, as we head towards the weekend, so that's great news. We're seeing some sunshine and then some showers to go with that. So let's take a look at what's going on for your Friday evening into Saturday. Things are going to get unsettled again up across Labrador. Some periods of rain for your Saturday morning moving through. Now, across the island, generally looking at a mix of sun and cloud through the afternoon. At least through the morning, rather, and then some shower chances as we head into the afternoon. for some areas for sure. So it'll be a little bit unsettled, and then we'll continue to see some shower activity up across Labrador as well, although some sunshine should appear as we head into the afternoon hours, and then again another round into the evening. Some more substantial rainfall for your Saturday evening. Temperature-wise, we'll sit somewhere in the teens and 20s for Labrador, and then firmly in the 20s across the island portion of the province, with the exception of the northern peninsula. Overall, you'll be sitting around 18, 19 degrees as your daytime highs for your Saturday. And then looking ahead into Sunday, like I said, we'll see some more shower activity depending on where the track would be, likely starting in the northern peninsula along the strait there for your Sunday morning. And then again, this is when we're going to start to see some of that humidity. So expect some fog along the south coast along with some drizzle, and then more shower activity as we head into the evening hours on Sunday. For most of us. I think there'll be a little bit more widespread here, especially into the evening hours, but overall daytime highs again will be in the 20s, mid-20s through parts of central, even upper 20s possible. Really not a whole lot of movement temperature-wise really anywhere, especially for the northern peninsula. Again, 19 degrees for your Sunday with some rain. And then Labrador anywhere from 15 to about 20 degrees as your afternoon highs on your Sunday. Now, as we look ahead to the long-range forecast, better chance of showers, really periods of rain on Monday for St. John's and Eastern Newfoundland. Again, the humidex values will likely be in the upper 20s for Sunday and Monday. And then we'll see that temperature drop to about not drop, but around the 20-degree mark for Tuesday. And again, some shower chances there as well. Overnight lows still sitting in the teens as we get into next week. So plants will be very happy. As we take a look at your central forecast, central Newfoundland rather, you're really not looking at rain until we get into Monday. And again, mid to upper 20s will be your forecasted high by the time we get into Tuesday, around 22 degrees. Dropping for western Newfoundland to the teens by the time we get into Tuesday, and a bit of a roller coaster for eastern Labrador. You'll be on the down of that for Monday and Tuesday with some rain in the forecast. And then for western Labrador overall, your highs will drop significantly. Look at your overnight low Tuesday night, 1 degree possibly. So yes, it's going to be chilly. Our weather photo of the day is in St. John's at the golf course. It was a foggy morning this morning. This is the hole for our view from hole number 7. Thank you to David for that. If you have any weather photos you'd like to share with us, we love seeing them, and you can share them to my Facebook page or email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca for a chance to get on the show.
I feel like I haven't seen fog in a while.
Yeah, it has been a while.
I wonder what time of day that was. Like, was that really early?
Early this morning, yeah. Started clearing, I think, mid-morning. Yeah.
And I wonder if we're going to break that record.
There's
Looking
definitely a
at
chance.
the 5-day, it looks like we could, of the 20 days.
Yes, that's right.
Or the 20-degree days.
Yeah, it's been warm. I mean, to break the record 2012, then again in 2022, and then so soon, we're only in 2025, right? So we've had a warm bunch of years.
Yeah, we certainly have.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's it for us. Thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us.
Good night.